got the distress call at 11:43 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Solo hiker, White Mountains, reporting he couldn't feel his limbs anymore. When we found his body at 8 a.m. on Christmas morning, he was completely naked in -10-degree weather. His clothes were folded neatly beside him, and he was smiling. My name is Sarah Smith, and I'm a ranger with New Hampshire Fish and Game, assigned to the White Mountain National Forest. If you've never heard of the White Mountains, let me fill you in. They're some of the most dangerous peaks in America. People think New Hampshire and picture pretty New England villages, but these mountains kill people every year. This past Christmas Eve, I drew the overnight emergency response shift, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Most years, it's quiet. People know better than to hike the Whites in winter without serious preparation. At 11:40 p.m, my emergency line rang. New Hampshire Fish and Game, this is Ranger Smith. The voice on the other end was male, young, breathing hard. I need help. I'm on Mount Washington. I can't feel my hands anymore, or my feet. I'm so cold. I grabbed my notepad. Sir, I need your name and your exact location. Tony Lee. I think I'm near Lion Head. I tried the summit today, but the weather turned. I'm heading back down, but I can't. Everything just looks the same. Okay, Tony, listen to me. How long have you been exposed to the cold? Since maybe 5 p.m. I lost the trail in the storm. My headlamp died. I've been trying to find my way down in the dark. 6.5 hours in the White Mountain winter storm. That was bad. Tony, are you wet? Yeah, I fell through some ice. My jacket is soaked. That was worse. Wet clothing in sub-zero temperatures accelerates hypothermia. Okay, I need you to find shelter immediately. Can you see any rocks or trees you can get behind? There's a boulder. I'm sitting against it now. Good, stay there. I'm dispatching a rescue team. They'll be there as soon as possible. But Tony, it's going to take time. We have to hike in and visibility is terrible. I need you to stay on the line with me. Okay, but I'm really tired. Can I sleep? I just want to sleep. No, Tony, you can't sleep. That's the hypothermia talking. You need to stay awake. Talk to me. Tell me why you're up here on Christmas Eve. His speech was slowing down. Wanted to summit before Christmas. I love hiking. Never done winter though. Thought I could handle it. Is this your first winter summit attempt? Yeah. I researched it, watched videos. I had gear, good gear, but the wind, it's so strong and I'm so cold. I was monitoring our rescue dispatch channel on my second radio. The team was gearing up, but Mount Washington in winter is no joke. Wind speeds can hit 200 miles per hour. Temperature can drop to -40. Would need at least 4 hours to rescue him. Tony, I need you to do something for me. Take your wet jacket off and put on any dry layers you have. I already did. My jacket was making me colder. I took it off. That was actually good thinking. Wet clothing can kill you faster than no clothing. What are you wearing now? My fleece and my thermal base layer, but it's weird. I'm still cold, but also I feel hot, like I'm burning up. My stomach dropped. That was stage 3 hypothermia, paradoxical undressing, when your body's thermal regulation is so damaged that cold registers as burning heat. Tony, this is very important. Do not take any more clothing off. Do you understand me? You need to keep your layers on. But I'm so hot. I need to cool down. Can't I just... Tony, listen to my voice. You are not hot. You're severely hypothermic. Your body is confused. If you take your clothes off, you will die. Do you understand? Silence. Tony? Yeah, I'm here. Okay, I'll keep them on, but it feels wrong. We talked for another 20 minutes. I kept him engaged, kept him awake, kept him responding, but his speech continued to deteriorate. His words were slurring, his sentences were getting shorter. At 12:24 a.m, he said something that made my blood run cold. There's someone here. What do you mean? Someone standing by the trees. Tall, really tall, just watching me. Tony, there's no one up there. The mountain is closed. You're hallucinating. No, I see them. They're waving at me. I think they want me to follow them. Hallucinations, another symptom of severe hypothermia. The brain starts shutting down, creating phantom images. Tony, stay where you are. Do not move. There's no one there. But they look warm. They're not wearing a jacket and they look warm. Maybe they know the way down. Tony? The line went dead. I tried calling back immediately. No answer. The call wouldn't connect. I radioed the rescue team. Smith, the mountain rescue. Victim has stopped responding. Last known position, Lionhead area, Mount Washington. He was experiencing severe hypothermia symptoms and hallucinations. Expedite. Copy that. ETA 3 hours 40 minutes. 3 hours 40 minutes. Tony Lee wouldn't last that long. The rescue team found him at 8:17 a.m. on Christmas morning. He was dead, but it was the conditions of his body that they radioed in about. The condition that made even our most experienced team members go silent. Tony Lee was lying on his back in the snow, 200 yards from the boulder where he'd made the call. He was completely naked. Every piece of clothing he'd been wearing, his fleece, his thermal layers, his pants, his boots, his socks, was folded in a neat pile beside him. Not ripped off, not scattered, folded, like he carefully removed each item and stacked them deliberately. And he was smiling. His eyes were open, frozen solid, staring up at the sky, and his mouth was frozen in a wide smile. The medical examiner's report listed cause of death as hypothermia with associated paradoxical undressing and terminal burrowing behaviour. Textbook case. Tony's core temperature had dropped so low that his body's thermal regulation completely failed. He perceived the cold as burning heat, removed his clothing, and wandered from his shelter seeking relief from the imagined fire. The smile, they said, was a muscle contraction, a posthumous spasm, nothing more. But here's what they couldn't explain. Tony's phone was recovered with his clothing. He pulled the data. After our call disconnected at 12:24 a.m, his phone remained active for another 2 hours. The GPS log showed him moving, walking steadily uphill, away from safety, towards the summit, and during those 2 hours, his phone's camera had taken 47 photos. I reviewed every single one. The first few showed trees, snow, darkness illuminated by his phone's flash, then footprints, his own, walking uphill, then another set of footprints, larger, deeper, bare feet in the snow, impossibly large, with elongated toes. Photos 10 through to 20 showed these footprints leading upwards, away from the trail. Photos 21 through 30 were blurry, motion blur, like he was walking and photographing at the same time. Photo 31 showed a shape in the distance, tall, impossibly tall, standing among the trees. The image was dark, but you could see the outline, human-shaped but wrong proportions, too thin, too tall. Photos 32 through to 46 showed the same shape getting progressively closer. Each photo clearer than the last, but always just out of focus, like the camera couldn't quite capture it. Photo 47 was the last image on his phone. It was taken at 12:14 a.m, an hour and 50 minutes after our call disconnected. It showed Tony Lee's face, a selfie. But here's the thing that nobody could explain. The thing that made me request a transfer to a different district. The thing that keeps me awake every Christmas Eve. In that selfie, Tony Lee's eyes are wide open. His lips are blue. There's frost forming on his eyebrows and in his hair. His skin has the grey-white pillar of severe hypothermia. And he's smiling. But the medical examiner said Tony would have been unconscious by 1 AM, dead by 2 AM at the latest. His core temperature at the time of discovery was 74 degrees. He'd been dead for at least 6 hours, which means photo 47 was taken after he was already dead. And there's something else, something I haven't told anyone except my supervisor, who told me to never mention it again. If you zoom in on photo 47, on Tony's face, you can see a reflection in his eyes. The phone's flash illuminated them just enough to show what he was looking at when he took that selfie. It's tall, it's thin, it's standing right in front of him, and it's smiling too. The official report says Tony Lee died of hypothermia and exposure on December the 25th, Christmas morning, due to inadequate preparation for winter conditions. They're right about the cause of death, but they're wrong about when he died. Because dead men don't take selfies, and dead men don't type messages into their phone's notes app. But when we examined Tony's phone, there was a note, created at 2:14 AM, the same time as the final photo. It said, "I'm so warm, you should come visit. Merry Christmas." I don't work White Mountain Rescues anymore. I requested a transfer to desk duty. I file reports. I train new rangers. I don't go into the mountains in winter. Because I've seen that shape in other photographs now. Other hikers, other hypothermia victims, other Christmas deaths. It's always there in the final photos, standing in the background, tall, thin, smiling, waiting for people who get too cold, who wander too far, who stop fighting and start following. And every Christmas, more people see it. More people take off their clothes in sub-zero temperatures. More people smile as they freeze to death. Because something's out there in the winter darkness. Something that makes the cold feel like warmth. And once you see it, once you start following it, you never stop smiling, even after you're dead. I'm the winter caretaker for Glacier National Park. On December the 26th, I'm the only human within 40 square miles. So when I saw a campfire smoke rising from the back country at 2 AM, I knew something was very wrong. When I reached the site, the fire was still burning. There was a tent, Christmas decorations hanging from the tree, and fresh boot prints leading away into the darkness. But the park had been closed since October. My name is Thomas Reeves, and I've been doing winter caretaking duty at Glacier National Park in Montana for 6 years. It's a lonely job, but I prefer it that way. From mid-October through April, the park is officially closed. Roads are blocked, visitor centres are shuttered, and 99% of the park is completely empty. But someone still has to be there. Someone has to monitor the weather stations, check the facilities, make sure pipes don't freeze and buildings don't collapse under snow loads. That someone is me. This past December, I drew the Christmas week shift, December the 20th through 27th, 7 days completely alone. The nearest town is Whitefish, 35 miles away. No cell service, just me, a satellite phone, and 1,000,000 acres of frozen wilderness. I don't mind Christmas alone. In fact, I prefer it. No forced cheer, no obligation to pretend everything's festive. Just quiet snow and empty trails. Christmas night, I was in the observation tower at the Many Glacier Ranger Station. It's a 3-story structure with windows on all sides, giving you a 360-degree view of the backcountry. I use it to spot weather changes, check for signs of avalanche, things like that. Around 11 PM, I was doing my routine scan with binoculars when I saw it. An orange glow, maybe 5 miles northwest, in the backcountry area near Iceberg Lake. At first I thought it was a reflection, maybe moonlight on ice or something with the aura. But it was steady, consistent, and orange. A fire. I watched it for 20 minutes, trying to convince myself it was anything other than what it obviously was. But there's no mistaking campfire light. Someone was out there. At 1:30 a.m, I geared up. Heavy parka, snowshoes, headlamp, emergency supplies, satellite phone. I marked the coordinates based on the glow's position and I headed out. The hike took 45 minutes. The snow was deep, nearly 3 feet in places, and the temperature was hovering around -8 degrees. My breath froze in my beard. My fingers went numb inside my gloves. But I kept going, because if someone was camping illegally in December, they were either very stupid or in serious trouble. I reached the site at 2:17 a.m. The campfire was still burning. Not embers, not dying coals, active flames, crackling cheerfully, radiating heat. Someone had been tending it recently. But that wasn't the strange part. The strange part was everything else. There was a tent, a modern 2-person backpacking tent, blue and grey, properly staked and guyed out. 2 sleeping bags visible inside through the open flap, both unzipped like someone had just gotten out of them. A cooler sitting next to the fire, lid closed, and Christmas decorations, battery-powered string lights, the little LED kind, hung between 3 trees surrounding the campsite. They were on, twinkling red and green in the darkness, and hanging from the 4th tree was a small wreath, the kind you'll buy at a craft store. I stood there for a full minute, my headlamp sweeping across the scene, trying to process what I was seeing. "Hello?" I called out. "This is National Park Service. The park is closed. You need to identify yourselves." Silence, just the crack of burning wood and the whisper of wind through the pines. I approached the fire. It was well built, safe, properly contained in a ring of stones. Whoever made this knew what they were doing, and that's when I saw the card. It was propped up against one of the stones, protected from the snow. A Christmas card, the old-fashioned kind from a winter scene on the front. I picked it up and I opened it. Inside, handwritten in blue ink, "To whoever finds this, Merry Christmas. We're going home a different way." At the bottom, a date, December the 25th, 1987. 37 years ago. I flipped the card over, looking for information. On the back, printed in small letters, Hartley family, Billings, Montana. Hartley. I knew that name. Every ranger at Glacier knows that name. David and Susan Hartley, a couple from Billings who went missing on Christmas Day 1987. They entered the park on December the 23rd for a winter camping trip despite warnings about an incoming storm. On Christmas morning, they radioed that they were heading back. That was the last communication anyone ever had with them. Search teams found their vehicle still parked at the trailhead 3 days later, but they never found the Hartleys. No bodies, no gear, no trace. The case file is still open. And now, I was standing at a campsite with their Christmas card, dated the day they disappeared, next to a fire that was currently burning. I opened the cooler. Inside was food, modern food, granola bars with 2024 expiration dates, bottled water, apples, fresh bread. My hands were shaking, not from the cold. I pulled out my satellite phone to call this in, but stopped when I saw the print. Boot prints, 2 distinct sets, different sizes, one large, one small, man and woman, probably. They led away from the campsite, heading northwest towards the frozen lake. Fresh prints, made within the last hour, maybe less. I followed them. The tracks were clear and my headlamp beam pressed down into the snow. I called out several more times. No response. The prints led me half a mile through the trees until we reached Iceberg Lake. It's a glacier lake, frozen solid from November through to May. The surface was covered in snow, smooth and undisturbed. Except for the footprints, they walked straight onto the ice, heading towards the centre of the lake. I stopped at the edge, pulling out my binoculars. I could see the tracks clearly under the moonlight. 2 parallel lines of prints leading out onto the frozen surface. And then, about 100 yards out, they stopped. Both sets of prints, they just ended. No turning around, no signs of struggle. They walked to that point and ceased to exist. I tested the ice at the edge with my axe. Solid, 4 inches thick, easily. Safe enough to walk on, but I didn't trust it. Not after what I'd seen. I marked the location on my GPS and hiked back to the campsite. When I got there at 3:40 AM, everything was gone. The tent, the sleeping bags, the cooler, the Christmas lights and the wreath. The fire was out, not dying out, cold, like it had been extinguished hours ago. I dropped to my knees and touched the fire ring. The stones were ice cold. The ashes showed no residual heat. Impossible. I'd been gone less than 90 minutes. A fire that size would stay warm for hours. The only thing remaining was the Christmas card. It was still propped up against the same stone. I picked it up with shaking hands. The front was the same. The date inside was the same. But there was new writing on the back. Frosted letters, like someone had written in condensation, already beginning to melt in the beam of my headlamp. Thank you for letting us celebrate one more Christmas. We're home now. Tell our families we're sorry we couldn't find our way out in '87. I radioed the Discovery in at first light. A forensic team arrived 2 days later. They processed the site, photographed everything, tested the ground, found nothing. No evidence of a fire, no tent stake marks, no boot prints except mine. The only thing that survived analysis was the Christmas card. The paper was authentic, manufactured in 1987. The handwriting matched samples from David Hartley's work documents. The message had been written by him 37 years ago. But the writing on the back, the frosted message, contained modern logistic patterns and phrasing that didn't exist in 1987. The official report listed my experience as unexplained phenomena, possible psychological stress due to isolation. I didn't argue with that, but I pulled the historical records for Glacier National Park anyway, because something was nagging at me. Since 1952, there had been 43 reports of illegal campfires in the park during winter months, all of them in roughly the same location, the Manic Glacier backcountry area near Iceberg Lake. Rangers had investigated 38 of those reports. They found evidence of fires, ash, disturbed snow, sometimes even warm coals, at 22 sites, but they never found people. And 6 times they found Christmas decorations, different years, different decorations, always hung in trees, always near a fire that had recently been extinguished. Last week, I was reviewing my patrol schedule for this coming December. I'm assigned the Christmas week shift again. On December the 23rd, I'll be alone in the park for 7 days, and I already know what I'm going to see on Christmas night, because I've been watching the backcountry reports from previous years, and every December the 25th since 1988, someone reports seeing the orange glow in the Mani Glacier area. The Hartleys are still out there. They're still trying to find their way home, and every Christmas they light a fire to show themselves the way. I don't think I'll investigate this year. Some people need to celebrate Christmas alone, even if they've been dead for 37 years. Christmas morning, 6 AM. I was doing my first patrol of Denali's winter trail system when I found them. Boot prints in the fresh snow, walking in a perfect circle. 50 feet in diameter. No prints leading in, no prints leading out, just an endless loop. And in the centre of the circle, a pile of clothes, still warm. My name is Jennifer Keller, and I'm a winter ranger at Denali National Park in Alaska. Most people don't realise that national parks don't close in winter, they just go into a kind of hibernation. Visitor centres shut down, roads close, but someone still has to be there. During the Christmas season, that someone is usually me. This past Christmas, I was part of a 4-person skeleton crew. We rotate shifts to monitor the parks, check weather stations, make sure nothing catastrophic happens. Christmas morning patrol is actually one of the better assignments. Quiet, peaceful, watching the sun come up over snow-covered peaks. I left the ranger station at 5:45 AM. Temperature was minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit. We'd gotten 8 inches of fresh snow overnight, which meant I'd be the first person to disturb it. There's something pure about that, being the first person to see untouched wilderness after a snowfall. The patrol route takes about 3 hours. I was following the summer trail system near Wonder Lake, about 8 miles from the station, when I saw them, the footprints. At first, I thought I was looking at animal tracks, maybe a wolf or a caribou doing some kind of territorial circuit. But as I got closer, I realised they were boot prints, human boot prints, and they were arranged in a perfect circle, 50 feet in diameter. I measured later. The prints walked clockwise, round and round, pressed deep into the snow. I followed them with my eyes, looking for where they started or ended. They didn't. The circle was continuous, no entry point, no exit point. The prints simply existed, forming this perfect circle in snow that had fallen between midnight and 4 AM. That's when I noticed the centre of the circle, a pile of clothes, winter gear, heavy-duty stuff, a black North Face parka, thermal pants, fleece layers, wool socks, and boots. Everything you need to survive Alaska in December, and steam was rising from them. They were still warm. I keyed my radio. "Base, this is Keller. I have a situation at Wonder Lake. Grid reference 77 Delta. I need immediate backup." "Copy that, Keller. What's the situation?" "I found abandoned winter clothing in the snow, still warm. Possible hypothermia victim in the area." I approached the clothing carefully, pulling out my camera to document everything. The jacket had a name tag sewn inside. Dr. Marcus Webb, Fairbanks, Alaska. I recognized that name immediately. Marcus Webb had been reported missing 3 days ago, December the 23rd. He was a glaciologist from the University of Alaska, up here doing solo winter research on ice core samples. When he didn't check in on the 24th, his wife called it in. We'd been searching for him for 52 hours, and now I'd found his clothes. But not him. I examined the boot prints more carefully. Men's size 10, aggressive tread pattern, matched the gear description from Marcus's missing person report. But here's what didn't make sense. These prints were fresh, very fresh, made within the last few hours after the snow had stopped, and there was a lot of them. I started counting the circles, looking at how the prints layered over each other in the snow. Based on the depth and the way each rotation compressed the previous one, I estimated there were over 800 complete circles. 800 rotations of a 50-foot diameter circle. I did the math in my head. At a normal walking pace, that would take approximately 11 hours of continuous walking. Marcus Webb had been missing for 52 hours. The temperature had been below zero the entire time, and based on these prints, he'd spent the last 11 hours walking in circles, in fresh snow that only fell 6 hours ago. That didn't make sense. Then I saw the message. It was written in the snow, right at the edge of the circle where the boot prints began and ended at the same point. Someone had used their finger to write in the powder. The circle keeps you warm. Don't break the circle. When you get warm enough, you can leave. I read it 3 times, my breath misted in the frigid air. That's when I looked up and saw him, 50 yards away, standing at the tree line. A man, completely naked, skin pale grey against the white snow, just standing there, watching me. "Marcus Webb?" I called out, my voice carrying across the stillness. The figure didn't respond. It just turned slowly and walked into the trees. I broke into a run. "Marcus, wait! I'm here to help you!" I reached the tree line in less than 30 seconds. My boots crunching through the snow. I could see his footprints clearly, bare feet, toes spread wide, walking deeper into the forest. I followed them for maybe 20 yards. Then they stopped. Not faded, not scattered, just stopped. Like he'd been walking and then simply ceased to exist. I searched the area for 10 minutes, calling his name, looking for any sign of where he could have gone. There was nothing. No body, no tracks, no evidence he'd been there except for those 20 yards of bare footprint that led nowhere. That's when I saw the tree. A spruce, maybe 40 feet tall, and carved into the bark, fresh cuts still weeping sap, was a message. "Started walking Christmas Eve. Finally warm now. Tell my family I'm going somewhere warmer. Merry Christmas." The carving was fresh, hours old, maybe less. Backup arrived 40 minutes later. We processed the scene, photographed everything, collected the clothing. The official report listed Marcus Webb as presumed deceased due to exposure and hypothermia. His wife was notified. They held a memorial service in January. But I keep thinking about those circles, about the message in the snow, about the figure I'd seen walking into the trees. When spring came and the snow melted, we did a full sweep of the Wonder Lake area. We found more circles, dozens of them, imprinted into the ground where the snow had compressed the earth beneath. All perfectly formed, all 50 feet in diameter. Some of them looked years old. Vegetation patterns showed they'd been there for a long time. And in the center of each circle, buried under leaves and forest debris, we found clothing. Different sizes, different styles, some of it modern, some of it very old. We found a jacket from the 1970s, practically rotted through. 23 circles in total. I pulled the missing persons file for the Glacier National Park going back 40 years. 23 people have died of hypothermia in the Wonder Lake region. Every single one of them disappeared in winter, and in every case, their bodies were never recovered. Last winter, a new ranger joined our Christmas crew, a young guy, eager, first season in Alaska. I was showing him the patrol routes when we passed near Wonder Lake. "What's that?" he asked, pointing. Fresh snow, and in the distance, a figure walking in circles. "Don't go near it," I told him, "and don't try to help." "But someone's out there. They'll freeze." "They're already frozen," I said, "and if you break the circle, you'll understand why." He looked at me like I was crazy, but he didn't argue. 2 weeks later, his gear was found in the center of a new circle, still warm. We haven't seen him since. Now when I do the Christmas morning patrol, I take a different route. I don't go near Wonder Lake anymore, and if I see footprints in the snow forming circles, I turn around and head back to the station. Because I've learned that some people don't die from the cold, they just keep walking until they're warm enough to leave. And wherever they're going, it's not a place the living are meant to follow.